the button. There we go. Okay, awesome. Can you please introduce yourself, including your current role and brief overview of your career journey to reach this leadership position?
My name is Chad Englehart. I'm the executive director of the Bartlesville Splash Club, which is a non-for-profit 401c3 youth sports organization. We're part of USA Swimming. That's our national governing body. So I basically coach swimming for a living and oversee a program. I started swimming in 1976. I started coaching in 1987. I had my first head coaching position where I actually ran a program in 1990 for a summer league. In 1994, I started my own club, grew that to one of the best clubs in the country in Indiana. And then in 2014, I moved to Bartlesville and started working with the Splash Club.
That's crazy. I feel like I've known you for so long, but there's so much I don't know. So that's crazy.
An old man that's lived a long life.
So, what, in your opinion, are key qualities or traits that make an effective leader?
The three I came up with were vision, passion, and integrity. I think you have to have a vision of where you're going. If you don't know where you're going or what you're doing, you can't get anybody to follow you. You have to have passion. Life is tough and there's a lot of different things going on. And if you don't have passion and energy behind your vision, people will just fall off by the wayside. And then you've got to have integrity. If they can't trust you, they won't follow you.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm just thinking about whenever you first came. I don't remember how old I was, but I was 2014. I was 13, I guess.
Yep.
And you were this big, scary guy. But I mean, immediately right off the bat, we all, I feel like, fell into line and kind of followed you. So it's pretty cool. Can you share some challenges you've faced in your leadership role and how you've overcome them?
I think the biggest one is the ability to listen and the importance of listening. When I was younger, when I was first starting those early positions in the late 80s, I had a vision of what I wanted to do and I had passion, but I would run through people and I would run over people. And as I've gotten older, I've learned to take a deep breath and try and listen a little bit better, make people feel heard. I think that really allows you to grow your structure, your foundation. I think the biggest thing for me is it allows me to have some grace. Nobody's perfect, but if people feel like they're heard and people feel like they're truly part of the team, when you do make that an inevitable boo-boo and stumble, they'll give you some grace and they'll be there to pick you up and help you work through it. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Do you think that helps like create longer lasting relationships with people too?
Definitely longer lasting, definitely stronger. I think I, that I can remember a meet and Jenks where you were struggling and I let you have it something fierce and your mother called me with a rather blunt expletive filled message and said she would see me in my office the next morning. I think when I was 22 or 23, I would have met her at the door with my own set of verbal bombs and we would have just had at it. And I was old enough and mature enough to understand that she needed to have that out and I needed to listen and hear her and validate what she was saying. And then once she had that out, then we were able to circle back and figure out how to move forward in a positive way. And I think that's really important. I think a lot of leaders, they got to that leadership role for a reason. They're talented, they're gifted, they have a vision. But if you forget the importance of other people's life experiences and if you forget that other people are human beings and really listen to them, then you really shrink your world and shrink those that fight for you.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, how do you prioritize and manage your time and responsibilities as a leader?
Not very well. I
I
would
was
say this is,
excited for this question.
I would say this is probably one of my um, weaknesses. This is the thing that I probably struggle with the most. I don't delegate very well. Um, so I tend to do everything. It's not uncommon for me to work 80 or 90 hours in a week. Um, it just, I'm engaged, I'm involved, I care, so I can get sucked into it and really spend a lot of time on it. Um, so that's one of my weaknesses, is being able to prioritize what's going on. As you can see, my office in the back, that table is covered with projects that I'm semi working on. So I just go from project to project. Um, I do feel like I have a sense for the priorities. In other words, I know what has to get done every day, and then it's a matter of all the other things I would like to do and all the other things I'd want to do, and whether I have time to do them and things like that. Um, as I've gotten older, I think priorities of my own health and priorities of my own family have become bigger. I think in my 20s and 30s, the programs were the priority. And I think I've learned that if I can take really good quality time at home or quality time other places, that helps relieve stress and it helps give me a better foundation to do all the work I want to do and all the things I want to do. For example, I had morning workout this morning, and then I went out and got my car and met my wife in the parking lot because she has to park a good quarter mile, half mile away. Drove her in, dropped her off at the door for her work, then parked and walked myself back in for this meeting. So that seems like a lot of wasted time on my part, but it makes her feel very, very valued, and that means more to me and ends up giving me more time and more um, love. It just baselines me a little bit more and allows her to be a little more understanding when I do work from 5 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night on some of those nights, or I do. It's it's really, really rare that I'm not working 7 days a week. I just do. Um, so I think that helps her give me some grace and give me some flexibility to do that, because I do take time to do those little things and special things for her to make her feel valued and part of an important part of my life.
Right. It's the little things. Yeah. Um, would you say, trying to figure out how to word this, would you say that like doing those things also gives you like a chance to recharge so you don't burn out?
I think my daily workouts, if I can find an hour a day to go do something, whether it's a run or a bike or lifting, I would tell you that the swimmers definitely notice when I don't have that for a couple of days or 3 days in a row. I need that opportunity to blow off some steam and take the edge off of me a little bit. My passion meter can run a little too high sometimes, and I think they appreciate it when I'm a little bit dialed down, and I can be a little bit more thoughtful. I definitely listen better when I'm dialed down a little bit more. Um, so yes, small bits of time with family, and then some workout time. That I think that is important. You can't jump in and using our pool analogy, I can't be in the deep end treading water all day long. I've got to get out every once in a while and just kind of recharge and
Right.
regroup.
Yeah. Okay. Um, this one you're gonna like. What strategies do you use to motivate and inspire your team or organization to achieve their goals?
That's a tough one because sometimes I think it's just who I am. You mentioned when I first arrived, I'm that kind of a big Labrador personality. I'm energetic, I'm enthusiastic, I like to have fun. Um, I tend to do a lot of visualization, and not like visualization where we sit down and close our eyes, but I talk to them about what they could be. I paint a picture for them of where they can go and what they can do, and then I try and get them excited about what that would feel like and what they can do as a team, what they can do as individuals. And then I try and do that with the hard work. We put in a lot of work and a lot of intensity, and that can destroy someone if they don't have a connection to why they're doing it and where they're going. So we try and do a lot of I try and do a lot of that team bonding and team competitiveness where they work on each other. It's not the same, but it's similar to something they would do in special forces with like Navy SEAL training. They work together so that they're not carrying the load all by themselves, but they all have a vision of where they're going and what they want to do, who they want to become. And we try a lot to sell people on a better version of themselves and where they can go and what they can do. So that sometimes it's more successful than others, but I think that's kind of what I do is try and maybe I'm Walt Disney. Maybe I try and sell a fantasy to them and then get them to work for it.
I feel like you're really good at that. Like being there over the summer, every time you would stop them to have a conversation or put something on the big screen, like a video of some sort. Like I don't even swim anymore, and it makes me feel things. Like I'm like, let's go, get me back in. Like, so I feel like you're just really good at that. Did you take any like motivational speaking classes or something? Because you're just a good speaker.
No, I think it's just I think some people are just born to do it, and I think I've always had that skill set. When I started coaching in 1987, I was going in my junior year, and I kind of had extra energy, and my coach was kind of I think he was just trying to get me out of his hair. But there was a big group of young boys that had just joined the team, and he basically turned me loose with them, and I think 5 or 6 of those 10 kids ended up swimming in college. I some people would tell me I've got the same mentality as the 6 and 7 year olds. Um, that's probably true on any given day. My wife would probably agree with that. So I relate to them, but I think there's that energy where I can get in and play with them and enjoy with them and engage them, make them feel confident, but yet still get a lot of work done. And I think that's I don't I didn't no I didn't take any to answer your question. No, I didn't take any classes. I did get an education degree, so I took classes learning how to teach people, but most of it was just instinctual. But again, that having that workout in the day or having some downtime helps those instincts line up a little bit. I think you've seen me at times where sometimes that competitive drive rewires all my instincts and I can get a little over the top. But I think that passion a lot of times, the old story is nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think it's pretty clear how much I care. So I think it helps people to engage a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see. How do you handle conflicts or disagreements within your team or organization?
Better and better each year. But I think it goes back to that listening. Um, I can remember when I first started that club in Indiana, and we were kind of growing, and I had a vision of where we wanted to go, and I was trying to get us from this level to this level in one step. And I can remember some epic stupidity fights with parents. I can remember just blasting parents and throwing them off the pool deck and not wanting to talk to them and how stupid they were. And I called my superintendent stupid to his face in the first year I was at this new high school where I was renting pool space from him. So yeah, a lot of mistakes, and just having to learn from those, and then having to figure out how much effort and time it took to repair those relationships, and learning that if I don't blow the bridges up, I don't actually have to build new ones. And I think that's helped a ton. being able to take that deep breath before I respond, before I blast. And I'm not perfect at it. I can, I can still go 0 to 60 with the best of them, but I try to take a deep breath, and usually I'm real good about putting the brakes on. Even if I do punch it, I can put the brakes on and I can circle back, um, and listen pretty well. So I think that's the biggest thing is listening and then building the reputation as someone who will listen. We had a parent, it was just last Wednesday, called my board president and was just livid, wanted me drilled, kids never coming back. How dare he do this and this and this? Um, and I board president said, hey, you need to go talk to him. Told me what was going on. I sent a note out and asked them to come in. The child and the parent came into my office. Half hour later, the child walks out bubbling like Tigger, just bouncing around, smiles. Mom gives me a little hug and says, thank you so much. And now she's a lifelong fan. And she'll be a huge supporter of me going forward. So the ability to let them have their moment and let them walk through it and then engage them and let them feel heard allows me to redirect the message and calm the emotions and bring people on the same path I'm on.
I like the way you put that, like they need their moment. I guess I've never really thought about it that way. I haven't, like, I'm the high school swim coach, right? And I haven't had any huge issues with parents. We've had a couple, but saying that they need their moment, that makes sense. It makes sense. Let's see.
I think if you remember back to the time you were in the shallow end, and we were just starting to deal with your challenges, and you were on the power rack by yourself, isolated from your teammates, and you were really struggling that day. And I hope you felt like I let you vent and let you have it. And then I said, okay, I understand it and I hear that, but where do we want to go from here? And it allowed you to kind of get all of that was on your shoulders off so that we could actually say, okay, now what is it we want to do? And there was no way to have a conversation about the next 3 steps when we hadn't dealt with the place you were at that moment.
Mm-hmm. So strategic. So strategic. Can you describe a significant leadership lesson you've learned throughout your career that is a lasting impact on your approach to leadership?
I think we've kind of talked about a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I think you sit back the next day and look at the carnage you created, and then eventually you start looking back the day after and look at the success you've created, and you just kind of grow for that. I think that's the biggest thing, is learning from your mistakes and then allowing others to make mistakes as well. I think that's a lot of times leaders get so focused on where they're going and what their career is and what their vision is, they forget that there's a team behind them that has the same life that they're living. And just because you're having a bad day doesn't mean everybody else isn't. And just because you're having a great day doesn't mean everybody else is. And I think that's been the thing I've probably grown the most at. We talk about listening and things like that, but being able to truly empathize, not sympathize, not give them sympathy but empathize and kind of, I've learned to try and figure out where they're coming from and where they're at so that I can better communicate and better listen with them. I know when I was in my 20s, I didn't care. I didn't care where they were coming from. I knew where I wanted to go, and that was the only thing that mattered to me. And I've learned over the years that where I want to go really doesn't matter if I can't get people engaged with me and convince them that they want to go the same place. And if I have no idea where they're at or what they're dealing with, then I can't convince them my path is helpful or positive or anything else.
Yeah. Oh, we've made it to the last one. Okay. Lastly, is there any additional advice or guidance you would like to offer someone starting their journey toward becoming an effective leader?
Yeah, 1996, my father passed away from cancer, and I was the last one in the room with him before he passed away. And he looked at me and said, "Be patient." And I didn't understand it, didn't get it. He just said, "You be patient, be patient," and then passed away. And I never understood what he meant. And as I look back at it, 30 years later, 25 years or whatever it is later, the lessons we just talked about, being able to hear, being able to find out where people are at, being able to take that deep breath. I feel like that's what he meant. Is having a vision of where you want to go is great, but understanding that you can't get there like that is probably more important. Because when you try to do things like that, when you just bam, I'm there, and instantaneous success, instantaneous whatever it is, that just destroys everybody around you. And it doesn't allow you to enjoy the journey that you're on, and it doesn't allow you to enjoy the people that are on the journey with you. So I think taking that breath, being able to be in the moment and be patient, not complacent, not like, oh, we'll get there eventually, oh, it's okay, not that, but being able to understand that a step that goes that far is better some days than forcing a step like this and crashing back. It just taking a little bit of improvement day by day, and understanding that when you do have setbacks, it's not the end of the world. It's something that you can take a deep breath from. You can learn. One of the big sayings nowadays is you're never losing, you're learning. And it's kind of corny, but it makes sense. If you're patient with yourself, if you give yourself a chance to make mistakes and learn from them, if you give others the same courtesy and grace to make mistakes and learn from it, I think that allows you to eventually get much farther than you normally would, and you get there somewhat sane.
Yeah.
It doesn't drive you as batty.
Okay. Hmm. That is good advice. I feel like, at least for me, with the high school team this year, I've been really good at being patient, and we've got a lot of different stuff going on going into the season. And so I've been trying to let them have their fun and do all that stuff, even though we have work we need to do, we need to get going. It's hard to get them going when they're not having fun though, right? So
Yeah.
gotta kind of see where everybody's at, like you said. But yeah, well, thank you, coach. That was it.